Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Starmourn. Today we're going through the last class in the series of class videos, which is Scoundrel. Um, yeah, like all the other class videos, we're going to start with just an overview of the skills, move on to the stats, and talk about hunting rotations and lesson investments, the order in which you should prioritize learning, different skills, etc. And then we'll give a brief summary of how the class works in PvP. So let's get started. So, Scoundrel. I have 3 skills, like all other classes: Gunslinging, Guile, and Improvisation. Gunslinging is all about using your piece, which is what the gun is called. I forget what it's called. I forget what piece stands for. Comment in the description if you remember. Yeah, this is all about ammo and using different abilities having to do with your gun. Next up is Guile. Guile is all sorts of dirty tricks, I would say. Dirty tricks. We aren't going to be using this too much for hunting, however. This is mostly for PvP. We do have Stim, however, but we get that right. This is our class heal, but we get that right at the start. We're also going to need Pocket Sand for interrupts, but it's not that far in, only 30 lessons. Now, the last one is Improvisation, and Improvisation is all about IEDs, which are bombs, basically. And the first thing I would recommend you do after you finish learning all your lessons is actually just learn 30 Improvisation from Caliber. That's going to give you Fling, and Fling is going to be a big boost to your hunting, and you can afford it immediately. So just get Fling, and you won't regret it. Now, the first thing that you'll be doing is you'll be using your crack shot, which is basically just your normal shoot, and then you'll be using quick load to reload your gun. So you have bullets. You start with 8 bullets, and it goes down to 0. Once you have 0 bullets, you can use a reload ability. And basically, this is a cool thing that you do while you reload. The vanilla way you do it is just quick load. It's a short balance, you load your gun, but reload abilities are essentially things you do while you're reloading that look really cool, and generally they're big abilities that do lots of cool stuff. Such a reloading ability is Fling. This is basically you prime, arm, and toss your IED at a target while you reload your piece. So I imagine you dig into your bandolier, you grab a bomb, you arm it, and then you fling it, and at the same time in your other hand or something you're reloading your piece. And the mental visual is pretty cool. And that's what Scoundrel's about. It's about being pretty cool. Yeah, so in order to use Fling, you need to first construct IEDs. And this is the only thing that you have to sort of worry about. You need to IED construct. At the start, we're just going to be using Rippers. So IED construct Ripper. It's going to give you 50 of said IED, and then you can do IED contents to see all of the IEDs that you have. Later on, we're going to be modding our IEDs, but as with what we saw with Engineer, where we're modding our turrets, similar here, we can mod our bombs to have different effects, and we'll get to that later. So I just want to make a quick note. Interrupting with a Scoundrel, interrupting channel mobs, is slightly more difficult. You need 2 abilities to do so. So the first one I mentioned is Pocket Sand. Pocket Sand you use while reloading. So if you have 0 bullets and there's a channel coming in, you need to use Pocket Sand in order to interrupt your target. If, on the other hand, you have bullets, you can use the other ability, Point Blank. You walk up to them and you shoot them in the face. you require a bullet in order to do that. So you're going to need these abilities. You're going to be investing in gunslinging quite a bit at the start anyway, so you'll get point blank. You just need to invest a few extra lessons to get Pocket's Hand in order to get your interrupts going. So let's talk about lesson investments afterwards. So the first thing you're going to want is rapid fire. Rapid fire consumes 2 bullets, and also deals more damage than the crack shot, and it's on a cooldown, 8-second cooldown, and it's good not only because it deals more damage than your crack shot, but also because it consumes more bullets, and we're trying to race down as fast as possible to 0 bullets so that we can use our really powerful reload ability, which is Fling. So rapid fire we're going to want. Next up, we're going to want Ambush. Ambush is really strong, about 400 extra lessons after rapid fire. Ambush has a cooldown as well, and basically it deals a lot more damage. And there's an internal cooldown on each mob, which is about 7 seconds, where it can't be ambushed again. But the cooldown time on ambush is 8 seconds, so you'll always be able to use ambush. After ambush, you're probably going to want to go to Melter. Now, what a Melter is it's a different kind of IED, and Melter lets you basically increases the damage taken by the mob by 15% for 20 seconds. So if you're using the Nexus Basher, how it uses Melter is it will basically use a Melter if the target is still high in health, but use a Ripper if it's low in health, because a Ripper is going to do more damage than a Melter, but a Melter overall is going to let you deal more damage to the mob. So Melter is a nice thing to have. And then after that, you're probably going to want Shrapnel. Shrapnel is the mod of your IEDs that you want. It's pretty high up there, and basically you IED add Shrapnel to Mom. Also, when you IED construct, you'll IED construct, for instance, Ripper or Melter with Shrapnel, and that will create your modded IEDs. Now, this is a bit of a toss-up, and I'm willing to hear what Scoundrels think about this, but you're going to want Weakening. And what this is you can, in gunslinging, you have different types of ammo that has different effects. Regular ammo, totally fine, honestly, but you're going to want different types of ammo. Weakening is extra good for hunting because it'll inflict hypertension, which is going to increase the damage that they receive from bleeding. So that's recommended. You're also going to be able to, once you start delivering lots of AFs, lots of afflictions with your ammo, you're also going to be able to use Haymaker, and this is more of an advanced move. You're going to require a slightly different stat layout, but Haymaker does a lot of damage when you have a lot of afflictions. But it's a little bit more advanced, I'd say. You need to know how many afflictions and whether it's worth it to use Haymaker, and you need to have a different stat distribution. So I would say you don't super need to worry about Haymaker at the moment. So you can choose if you don't want to go for Melter right away or Shrapnel right away. You can probably get away with going for Weakening first, but I'd like to hear what other Scoundrels have to say about that. The final ability, which will sort of make you an amazing, as good as you can get, basically, is Gun Eject. And this is a little weird. So when you, this is a ability that consumes no balance, but will let you basically eject the clip from your gun so that you can use a reload ability right away. So usually how this is done is you'll go to 0 bullets, you'll use your reloading fling, you'll go back up to full bullets, you'll eject, and then you'll fling again. So you basically get to use 2 bombs in quick succession, and this is really strong because those reloading abilities are simply really strong. So this follows the general rule with Scoundrel, where you want to be consuming bullets as fast as you can, so that you can use those really powerful reloading abilities. That's all there is for hunting, and I forgot to talk about stats, so let's just quickly talk about that now. Like with all other classes, we'll start with 50 in Life Force, then we'll move on to Max Regen, and then we want Aim as our primary damage ability. More advanced setups will involve some agility to increase the damage from Haymaker, but I think as a new player, you'll be fine just going straight for Aim, and yeah, you'll do a lot of damage. You'll get to level 75 in no time, and you don't necessarily need to worry about Haymaker immediately. So PvP, what does PvP look like? Well, PvP is all about force feed. There's another insta-kill of Scoundrel, but it's a little more complicated, and I'm not going to talk about it. So force feed is, it requires 75% internal subsystem damage on the opponent. It requires them to be bound, and in order to bind your target, which is done with AB bind, guile bind, they need to be prone. And in order to make them prone, you need to guile trip them. So basically, the higher the subsystem damage that they have to the internal subsystem, the longer that bind will bind them. And I believe trip also increases, the amount of time that they're tripped also increases with internal, but I might be wrong. I think I've forgotten. But basically, once you trip them and then bind them, you can force feed them an IED. You shove a ripper down their throat, and they detonate, and it detonates, and they instantly die. That's one way to kill them. The other way to kill them is just to straight up out damage them, and Scoundrel is really good at damage with powerful things from powerful abilities like Haymaker, and Ambush. And Haymaker scales off of afflictions that you've done. With your weakening ammo or with any ammo, you're going to be piling on passively a whole bunch of afflictions, mostly to their internal subsystem. You're going to be wrecking their internal really quickly. You're going to be applying bleed using shrapnel. You can apply different types of IED effects with your different types of IEDs when you're reloading. You also have the ability with Scoundrel, which no other class has, I forget the name of it. Yes. With ammo select, you can gun switch your type of ammo you're using to all these different things, and you basically have different categories of afflictions that you'll be dealing in each category. And one of the features of Scoundrel is that you actually get affliction selection. So you can choose specific afflictions, and you can say gun switch this type of ammo, and I want to deliver specifically this affliction. And this is the only selection mechanic in the game. So basically, you can target specific afflictions depending on the situation, and this can give you a lot of flexibility. For instance, if you're in a cover matchup where there's a lot of use of cover, you can quickly switch to delivering them encroachment, which prevents them from using cover. So that's just an example of an instance where you can quickly switch to a different targeted affliction depending on your combat situation. So very strong. Other than that, they just deal a lot of raw damage, especially with Ambush and with Haymaker. The more afflictions that they have on them, the more damage that they'll do with Haymaker. So always great if you see them and they're any kind of damaged, you can really put the hurt on very quickly with some well-timed Haymakers and Ambushes. Other than that, it's just about getting their internal down. You can buy a lot of time for yourself using Trip and Bind. So if you're, for instance, up against an Anaseer who relies a lot, or even Fury who relies a lot on stacking a lot of afflictions, you can buy yourself a lot of time for your wet wiring to heal afflictions by using Chip and Bind. Of course, during that duration, you're also not doing damage, but it can buy you time to sort of heal up some afflictions, prevent your opponent from acting, and sometimes that is more important than putting damage out yourself. So that's all there is to Scoundrel for PvP. In groups, oh, well, Scoundrel in groups is, I guess, another sort of glass cannon-y type class. They don't have a hell of a lot to keep them alive. They are indeed the squishiest class in the game. They don't have very many active defense abilities. The one thing that they do have to save them is some abilities that let them quickly leave the room, and also the ability to prep an area by hiding bombs all around the place. And so if they try to pursue you, you can catch them in traps and that sort of thing. That can be very effective depending on where you're fighting. In groups, they are mainly focused on getting into cover and using. This is how I like to. This is what I like to see when I have a Scoundrel on my team. They take cover, and you can make cover at any time using improvised cover. Basically, you create cover, and then you can take cover, and you can also use gauge. I can't spell gauge. This lets you use bullets to move between covers, and when you shoulder roll between covers, your gauge will go off. It'll fire a bullet. This makes it really hard for your opponents to sort of figure out which cover you're behind and target the right piece of cover. And one of the things you can do is, if there's no melee stun on the opponent team, you can actually just get behind cover, and then you can unload on them. And unload is extremely powerful. It deals so much damage, but it's a channel action, and if you get interrupted, you will take a serious balance knock. That said, if you're behind cover, and if they are concentrating their efforts on your teammate, such as your engineer, who can revive you, which they probably are, then more than often than not, you can really make unload pay off. And if they have no melee interrupts on their side, it's going to be hard for them to interrupt your unload if they aren't also behind cover. So there's some really interesting tricks, and I would say Scoundrel is the class of tricks. They have so many tricks up their sleeves for PvP, and they're a lot of fun. They're my second favorite PvP class next to Anaseer, who has my heart. And yeah, that's all there is to Scoundrel. And that's all there is for the class videos. Let me know how you like these class videos. We'll find out which class is most popular by which one gets the most views. And other than that, I think next we're going to be turning for a while to hacking and to space. And that's it. Okay, bye-bye.